listening to, in my humble opinion, only on 101.3 Jams.
Like we always do at this time, Imho Talk Show. Still here, still standing. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Ron, how y'all feeling, family?
Man, we got to change that beginning like we always do at this time. That remind me of a Kanye song, and we ain't doing Kanye right now. So we got to change it. Back like we never left or something, man.
If you want to do that, listen, do me a favor, mute that mic for me, touch that screen. Come back with us 1 second. We getting feedback from one of the cameras, and you hit that mute first. That should fix it. Oh, look at that, Ron. God, Leslie, you know what, Leslie, you looking for a job?
I kind of got nostalgic coming up in here. This is my old studio. I'm like, oh,
yeah, that's right.
Goodness.
That's right.
I ain't been in this joint in a minute.
That's right. And we appreciate you coming back. And I'm sure the family know none other than Leslie Scott Jones joining us right about now. That's right. It's Sir Charles, Aaron, Miss Max. And we here like we never left, y'all. Imho Talk Show. Tell a friend, streaming worldwide right now, broadcasting live. We got a jam-packed show. Aaron, Miss Max. We're gonna give the people what they want, of course. And we're gonna kick this thing off, as you've heard, the voice of some of y'all familiar with, but we're gonna present to some and introduce to others Leslie Scott Jones. In second hour, we're gonna be joined by our good friend Jody Cabasa from the Virginia Film Festival for yet another year of that amazing work of the cinematic realm when it comes to how they keep growing, how they keep getting more diverse with it. And bottom of the hour, this may be our last live on air before election time. And so we're going to be joined by Jesse Higgins from Charlottesville tomorrow to give us the scoop on their voters guide. How'd that sound to you, Aaron?
Man, it sounds wonderful. I love the film festival, man. That's one of my favorite things. And obviously, anytime we can talk about some constructive Black history with one of the premier schools we got in that area, it's always a treat. Always a treat.
That's right. So without further ado, like I said, I'm just delighted right now to be joined by none other than Leslie Scott Jones. And Leslie, first of all, Grand Risings, good afternoon, top of the morning, whatever you want to say.
Yes, assalamu alaikum.
That's right, all that good stuff. So I'm delighted to have you here. And for those that don't know, go ahead and give them your title officially at the Jefferson, because I know you wear many hats there.
I do, and it just changed.
Okay.
I am now the curator of learning, engagement, and public programs at the Jefferson School at the American Heritage Center.
Nice.
Yeah.
Big stuff. And in saying that, what are some of the duties that you are responsible for? Like, what is your undertaking there with Dr. Andrew Douglas?
Oh, well, we a small shop, so I do a little bit of everything. But I run the Charlottesville Players Guild, which is an all-Black theater company here in Charlottesville. Mm-hmm. We are in the process of producing all 10 of August Wilson's American Century cycle, which is it's 10 plays that Wilson wrote in each decade of the 20th century. Mm-hmm. And all but one of them take place in the Hill District in Pittsburgh, which is a historically Black neighborhood. Okay. And we chose to start doing this work because it is so similar to things that are going on in Charlottesville, one.
Gotcha.
And two, Wilson captured Black life in each decade of the 20th century. Mm. And, as you know, the Heritage Center is concerned with Black history within the 20th century. So it just seemed like a perfect marriage to do that work. And we are almost done. We got 4 left.
Okay.
2 Trains Running opens November 10th and runs through the 20th. Mm-hmm. And it's a really cool story. It takes place in 1968, and it's about a diner owner, Memphis Lee, and the Hill District is going through yet another round of gentrification, and the city has claimed eminent domain over the building that he owns. And he is in a fight with the city to get what he believes his business is worth. And he says repeatedly, he's like, I'm not taking less than $25,000. That's what they gonna pay me. If they want my building, that's what they gonna have to pay me.
So it does sound very familiar,
right?
Because they say that that if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. But unfortunately, we see the similarities in the stories, which make these plays so even that much more appealing.
Absolutely. And really, out of all of them, I think this one is the funniest script. This one, it's just, we laugh so much during rehearsal. I mean, and it doesn't hurt that like my cast is they're all cut ups. Like every single one of them is an all day fool. So we've been having so much fun in rehearsal.
What I like most about it too, of course, besides you being excellent at your craft, we are talking to playwright amongst many other things, Leslie Scott Jones of Jefferson School African American Heritage Center, but how you're able to engage local folks, young folks of color who have an interest in theater or in acting, and then a lot of some of them get their really first big break on stage, going through the Jefferson and one of the plays that you curate. So hats off to you for making that opportunity available.
Seriously, it is the absolute joy of my life. Like it's absolutely what I am supposed to be doing on this planet.
That's a good feeling, ain't it?
Oh my God. Like it really is like what I am absolutely supposed to be doing with my life is making sure that Black artists have a space and a place to do what they want to do. And and it's been amazing to see like the youngest member of CPG is now going to Duke Ellington School of the Arts in DC.
Awesome.
He just won a seat at the British Academy to go and study Shakespeare next summer. Like that kind of stuff. It's like, yes, that's what you wanted to do. Like you figured it out here. You got to practice your craft and then you're taking it somewhere. And to be able to see young people figure that out. Like we just did a few months ago, into the summer, we did a night of one-act plays written by first-time playwrights. One of whom was 12. She's 12.
What?
12.
Go ahead.
And let me tell you, the script that she wrote was not a script that that you would think would come from a 12-year-old. Like this script was dealing with some deep stuff. Like she was 40 years old talking about it. Like gorgeous artist.
Which is gorgeous. At the same time, it's a little scary, ain't it? To be that young and to have that kind of depth,
No, I don't think that's scary at all. I think that's beautiful. To be 12 and already have such a full grasp of your voice and what you want to say.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. She's a powerhouse.
Yeah. No, you're right. Now, that actually absolutely is a beautiful thing. I was thinking of it from the aspect of how you were telling telling the story about how there's things, even from the 20s that we can relate to today. And I was thinking about the, young people and all that we go through and how the arts, whether it's music, whether it's stage, whatever the case is, like, I feel like that's our freedom of speech, or should be.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so like when that gets squelched, I take serious concern with that. But I say that because everything that's going on in the world today, right? And, like all that our young people have to deal with and have to conceptualize.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Is like, that's what's scary to me. And then for them to then know that they're going to be our next artists and stuff, right? And then they're going to have to tell those stories.
Yeah.
Like,
but see, they're ready to tell them. They're absolutely ready to tell them. They just need a space and a place to do that. And the Heritage Center is the place that they can do that. Dr. Douglas and I take great pride and pleasure in the fact that if you Black and you got an idea for something, a movie you want to show, a song you want to sing, like whatever it is, like come
That's
on. We want you here. This is your space. This is a historically Black space.
That's right.
Originally Black owned land.
Mm.
So it's ours, and we need to take more use of it,
Absolutely.
more
Absolutely.
ownership of it.
Yeah, thank you for just putting it on the table like that, because that's absolutely the case, ladies and gentlemen. So tell the folks about some of the other programs that you've done, because you all do more than just plays. I mean, like, there's been everything from like open mic nights. There's been like songwriting workshops. There's been hip hop workshops. I mean, there's just been an array of things that celebrate and that teach our culture.
Absolutely.
So kind of give a rundown of maybe some of your highlights, for the folks who may not know.
Sure. Well, we do several like staple events during the year. So we always do some programming around Liberation and Freedom Day, which is March 3rd. We always do some programming for Juneteenth. And I am so super excited for next Juneteenth because the parade is going to be lit.
Yes.
And we always do Kwanzaa. We have a practitioner coming from New Jersey for Kwanzaa this year. And he's going to do a presentation about West African religion, and he's going to play some drums. It's going to be beautiful. Nice. And then we also have special events that we do. For instance, next week, October 28th, we have a narrating rap workshop. So it's a creative workshop during the day. And then that night, it's a showcase.
Right.
You can come, you got something to work on, or you don't even know what you want to work on. You come to the workshop, the creative workshop with Mickey Fax and Andy Carson, and spend a couple hours figuring something out. And that night on the stage.
That's right. Hey, Ron. Mickey Fax is going to be in the building.
Man, Mickey is a pure spitter, and he's so educational. He provides so much great content. And I mean, I remember he did a freestyle on Full Master Flex, and he was just talking about credit. And phenomenal. And the fact that he's bringing his talents down to Seaville, the whole community should be excited. Get your kids out there, get your folks out there, and get your bars up so you can be like Sea Dog, man.
For real. And you know what? We got local people in on this too. Like Michelle Claiborne and Remy St. Clair are hosting the showcase. Okay.
People.
Yes. We got Lady Tage and Lady Tage and Bakari Kennedy like performing. So, we wanted to make sure, when I was talking with AD about this, we wanted to make sure that we were connecting national artists with local artists because they're doing the same work.
Yes.
The only difference is the amount of recognition that they get.
Yes. And that's what I was thinking about Mickey Fax, because that's not a household name when it comes to hip hop. But that's important for folks to know that, because he's a ghostwriter, as they call it. Right. He's written some of the songs that y'all have no idea.
Right.
He's a lyricist, and that, like, I know Remy did the hip hop class, and when we had him in here, and he was talking about that, on how, like, when it comes to the culture, it's so expansive.
Yes.
But like a lot of times, like some of our young folks be like, oh, I want to be a rapper because I see the rapper with the jewels and the cars and stuff.
Right.
But not knowing that they're not the ones in that whole picture that make the most money.
They're not. But that's the whole thing about the music business in general. Like, we have a program called Echo Ise, which is Urban for Performance Education. And I started the program because I saw how Black children were being pushed out of the arts in the school system, right? Because they get to a certain point, they get to middle school, and then all of a sudden they have to choose between sports and art.
Right.
And most of them are going to choose sports because that's what their friends doing. They see it as more easy access. And if you really want to be like a top tier musician, you have to have one-on-one instruction.
That's right.
And most of us can't afford to send our kids to one-on-one instruction. That's a lot of money.
It is.
$60 for 1 half-hour session. Ain't nobody got money for that.
Right.
Like, we try to eat.
Right. Spot on.
But so I when I saw that, I was like, okay, so we need to fill this hole. Like this is something that we can do.
Mhm.
And so all of our practitioners are working artists. There are people that do this for a living and want to share what they know with with younger people that look like them.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we're providing classes. I mean, we got African drumming, we
Yep.
got a jazz guitarist ready to teach somebody some jazz guitar. Come on in.
Yep.
Okay. We have voice lessons, we have acting lessons, playwriting, like whatever you are interested in doing,
Mhm.
we can find a practitioner that does it professionally to teach it to you.
Mhm. Mhm.
And on top of that, part of the program is teaching you how to be an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
How do you set up an LLC? How
Right.
do you like get all of your paperwork in order so that once you know what you're doing and you get the gig,
Mhm.
you get paid?
That's right.
You know,
That's
like
right. The business.
all of that, the business side of it is so important because we get trapped with, oh, look, I was on stage. Great, you were on stage. Did you get paid?
Mm.
Did you
So
get
so.
paid?
That's right.
You know, like, and what did you get paid?
Mhm.
3 other people were on stage with you. They got paid $300 and you got 25.
Mm.
Something wrong with that.
Something wrong with that.
Right.
You know, like teaching them how to negotiate, how to put things in contracts so that they're not taken advantage of,
Mhm.
how to
Yes. Yes.
copyright their work so that it can't be stolen. Like all of those things, even if you don't want to spend your life creating art,
Mhm.
those are things that can transfer into whatever you do.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right.
Mhm.
You
I
have
have a question, Charles.
sports and art, and that's one thing that it teaches, like life lessons
Yes.
within them. Yeah. Yes, Miss Max.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Leslie, how you
Thank
doing?
you. Good to see you.
Thanks for joining us today. So, I have a question, and it's more so related to your interpretation of the impact that the Jefferson School is having. We're all, a lot of different groups and individuals working in our own corners of Seville, trying to create space for Black people and trying to inform people and what have you, just really trying to make an impact. And so,
Absolutely.
when I was listening to your explanation of a lot of the work that the Jefferson School was doing, um, I've been to a number of events at the Jefferson School, and oftentimes, there are more white faces than Black. And
Yeah.
so, in listening to your description of everything, I wondered what you feel like from the Jefferson School's perspective, the impact that your work is having, or because I am curious to know, like, are people showing up to be entertained, or to say they went to the Black event, or are they really taking back what they're absorbing at these events to their respective parts of the city, and speaking to their
Yeah.
constituents about it, and really trying to create some type of change for
Yes.
the greater city. What are your thoughts there?
And
Mm.
Dr. Douglas and I are really careful about what we program and how
Mhm.
we market it, and um, because we don't want it to be Black people being commoditized,
Mm.
right? We get
Mhm.
enough of that. You know what I'm saying? Like that happens in
Mhm.
every other
Yeah.
place in our
Yeah.
lives and in our existence.
Yep.
So we are very aware of that. And um, at a certain point, we can't help who walks through the door.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Um, but the impetus for everything that we do is
Mhm.
this is about Black people,
Right.
and we are
Mhm.
doing it for Black people.
Mhm.
And the bottom line is, if there were more Black people in the room,
Yes.
there wouldn't be space for those white people to be in the room.
Mhm. Very true.
That's the bottom line. Like
Yes.
Very true.
we gonna do what we do because we believe that it is absolutely important to hold this space, right? To
Mhm.
stand in this space and say, no, this is about Black people, period.
Mhm.
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 Yeah, and that's one of the things that happens a lot is like we don't put in the work or the effort. And then other folks see the value in us, even when we don't see the value in us.
Mhm.
And so when they
sometimes
come
those
in and say,
intentions are good and sometimes
right,
not so much.
exactly. But then when they step
Mhm.
in and fill the void, and we have our mouth open. And dare I say that if the Jefferson did not have the support or funding needed to continue, a lot of us would have our mouth open
Mhm.
at that point
Yes.
instead of being
Well, I mean,
open to it right now.
that's why the Heritage Center exists,
Mhm.
because alumni found out what they wanted to do with the building and said, "Oh, no, wait.
Mhm.
This was our school.
That's right.
What
That's right.
exactly do you think you're doing?"
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we need the rest of the community to
Yes.
feel the same kind of ownership and say, "Hold on, this is my space.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm doing this because this is my space."
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
You know, and
Mhm.
there is always the issue of how do we reach more Black people in the city
Right.
and in the counties. And let
Mhm.
me tell you, we do everything we can to do it, right?
Mhm.
You know, we're on the radio, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram.
In the community.
We are in the
You're
community.
in the community.
We are tabling events. We, you know, like we did a whole
So what's the disconnect?
in June and July where we were literally giving away free memberships. Because we want people to know what's going on. And the thing that we keep hearing is, "Oh, well, I didn't know that was happening." And it's like, okay, well, I'm communicating in every avenue that I have to communicate to you.
Right.
So at some point, there has to be some reciprocity
Yes.
on the other side, right? There has to be the person on the other end going, "Hey, you know what? I'm trying to figure out what's going on this weekend. Let me see what the Jefferson."
There you go.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
click on the website. Like everything is on our website.
Right.
It's not hard.
And Miss Max, were you gonna say something?
No.
Okay,
I'm
but I
in
heard you, Sean.
complete agreement with Leslie, and can appreciate her placing the accountability, being open and honest enough to speak about where some of the accountability really lies, because sometimes we talk around that issue, and sometimes people outright get upset when you start talking about who's accountable.
Yeah,
And that's absolutely true. You can only do but so much,
that's
and
right.
at a certain point, the people, the citizens, have to take advantage of these things. And I don't know that I didn't know about it is always a good enough excuse. I think it's the easy out.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you know, last Friday night, we did a screening of Marley's movie
Yeah,
that she did about Gullah Geechee culture.
right.
And that literally came about because she sent an email to Dr. Douglas and I and said, I've already like premiered it at Second Street, but it didn't feel right. And I want to do it again, and I want to do it at Jeff School, and I want there to be a talk back so it can be a conversation between me and the people I made the movie for. And there was that was literally the conversation, and we were like, "Cool, pick a day, let's go."
Right.
It really is that simple to have access to this amazing place that is for us. It's ours. It is literally ours. We just have to reach out and take it.
That's right. Hey, y'all, how about we take a quick break and then we come right back and wrap up with Miss Leslie Scott Jones of the Jefferson School of African American Heritage Center. All right, Sir Charles, Miss Max, Aaron. Hey, you don't want to miss it. We're going Leslie's had it easy so far. Like, we're going to come back, close it, with the toughest question yet.
Okay.
Hey, but she's a live performer, so, so she's always ready to improv.
I'm rolling with it.
All right. Tell a friend. IMHO Talk Show. I to the ism, H to the Izzo talk show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, A. Ron, Leslie Scott Jones. We in the booth, we in the building. So Leslie, before we let you go, I know one thing that's definitely burning on my heart, and I believe the majority of our people is finding a solution to reduce
Mm-hmm.
the crime rate, finding a solution
Mhm.
to capture the minds and the spirits of our young people, to get them refocused on life,
Yeah,
literally refocused on the value of life.
absolutely.
You know, and so talk about the arts and and the impact that can play, for the folks who may be wondering, like, that may need another reason on why they should get involved and support. Because let me just preface by saying that, like, one of the most memorable points of my life was going to the Music Resource Center.
Mhm.
And I'm, like, I'm not old school Music Resource Center, but I'm old school Music Resource Center.
I understand.
So
Oh,
I'm Music Resource Center back when it was over, by the railroad track.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and like that's where I met Clee Logan.
right.
And I take that back. Clee Logan was working at Distractions, which was in Seminole Square here. It was like a record store. First met him when I was a kid, but then went to Music Resource Center. And some of the bonds and friendships that I created then over the arts, right? Like, we
Absolutely.
were learning production, we were learning about music, and bonds were created, and it kept us out of trouble.
Yes.
Kept us doing something constructive.
Yeah.
So so when it comes to the arts, please talk about the impact that can make on a young person's life.
Well, let me just tell you that. So yesterday we started a thing that we're calling Saturday School, which is basically Saturday mornings at the Heritage Center. You can come do a drum circle. You can take a theater class. Whatever it is, arts related.
Mhm.
We just had a group of teenagers from Uplift UVA that came in yesterday.
Mhm.
And I was asked to give a presentation to them. And so it's like 20, sophomore, juniors, a couple seniors in the room,
Mhm.
all children of color.
Okay.
And I asked them, the first question I asked them was, what do you think the first thing Black people did in Charlottesville after emancipation?
Mm.
And there were blank faces. They were like,
Mm.
I don't know. I know that.
Mm.
And I said, they started this school.
Mm.
That's the first thing they did.
Mm.
Isabella Gibbons started the school in 1865.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that was not happenstance.
Right,
That was
right.
purposeful,
Mhm.
because they understood that an educated mind can never be put in chains. Right?
Yes.
And when we walk into the large gallery of the permanent exhibit, there's a photograph of the first graduating class from the school.
Mhm.
And if you've ever been there, you remember the photo because it's huge. It takes up the whole wall.
Mhm.
And you look at these children, and they're all different ages. There's some adults in the
Right.
picture. Isabella herself is in the picture holding her diploma, right? But all of these beautiful Black children are dressed to the nines. They're holding their diplomas. They're holding a book. And I said to them, I said, we always think of Blackness being performative in a negative way. But look at this picture.
Yes.
They are being performative. And what they are saying is, I am strong. I am intelligent. I am powerful. I am making decisions about my own life. Right? And all of that, everything that happened at Jeff School when it was an operating school, had something to do with the arts.
Yeah.
They were in a band. They were being cheerleaders. They were like, all of these things happened at the school and created a culture that allowed these children to grow up around people that cared about what they were doing, that knew who their mother and father was. If they acted up, it wasn't, oh, you're in trouble. It was like, I'm calling your mama. She coming to get you.
Oh yeah, I missed that.
Right? It was that kind of old school culture, right? And that's what this place still is, right? I mean, we had Yolanda Coles and 4 her littles in there yesterday.
That's awesome.
All of them, all different ages, sat through my Black Theatrical Voice class, and they were commenting and, you know, answering questions, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Now, if that class were full of Black children,
right,
not only would they be learning about their own culture and their own history, but they would be excited about something that doesn't have to do with drugs or guns or running the street or whatever. Like, it would give them a purpose, and it would give them people to be accountable to outside of their house that care about them. You know, and that's what we need.
Exactly what we need.
You know, we need those uncles and those aunties.
Yep.
You know, to see them in the street and be like, you ain't supposed to be here. What you doing?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, to give you a beating in the street, then you get a beating when you get home.
Right.
That's right.
Because that's how it used to work. You know what I mean? I grew up here. My paternal grandmother is one of 12. My maternal grandmother is one of 13. And nobody went anywhere. I could spit and hit a cousin on any given day. And when I was a kid, I hated it because I couldn't go nowhere without a family member seeing me. Right. You know?
Yeah, you get.
Well, let me tell you, the fire that you have and the passion that you have for the Jefferson School and its work, and the reverence that you have for the Black diaspora is apparent. It is truly apparent. And so I want to thank you for all of your hard work. And, you know, and I want to speak directly to the listeners right now. Like, all of us, I think, are very aware that we are losing our kids at a fast rate. And I mean that literally and figuratively. And we must do something. And there are people that care in this community that are trying to create opportunities for you to take advantage of, so you can see your baby grow old, so that you can become a grandparent, so they can go off to college.
And not just grow up. Like, we want them to be armed with the knowledge and the self-esteem to thrive.
All of those things.
Right?
Those things.
I told those children from Uplift yesterday, I was like, you know, this is the best job I have ever had, because I can be my absolute authentic self at every single moment.
Right.
No matter what that is. Right? And I said, and I want that for you. But in order for you to get that, you have to understand where you came from. You have to understand your history. You have to understand how the things that happened in this world impacted your community. And so you can understand how not to do that again.
There you go.
And it's one thing to make that plea to the kids, you know, and some of them will stumble in by happenstance, but we have to speak to the people that are responsible for these kids, whether you're mentoring them, whether you're the actual parent, the grandparent, somebody who cares, whomever, because they play a major role in making sure that their child is hearing the right things and in the right space and given an opportunity and things like that. So it's important that these people also understand the value of the Jeff School and want to do all within their power to ensure that their kid grows up with all of these things that we're talking about. They reach an old age, but they also understand their self-worth, their value, the importance of who they are, and so on and so forth. So
spot on.
Yeah. So and for all you entrepreneurs out there, all right, so y'all got a business. You want to showcase your business. You want to we have been trying to do pop-ups of vendor fairs with all Black businesses. And we want to do one for Kwanzaa.
Okay.
to have several businesses table during Kwanzaa and have your wares available. So get in touch with me. My email is publicprograms, all lowercase, all one word,
I'm gonna type it for people.
jeffschoolheritagecenter.org.
Mm-hmm.
Send me an email. You want to table at an event? You want to be part of the next Black Business Fair? You have a business and you want to sponsor partially or fully one of the programs that we offer? Please get in touch with me, because if we can make sure that the Heritage Center has the resources, financial and people, that we need, then we can make sure that it's always here for us.
And you said public programs?
Public programs at jeffschoolheritagecenter.org.
Okay. All right, here we go. Good stuff.
Hey, you got a little one that wants to learn the drum? Come on over to the Heritage Center at 11 o'clock next Saturday.
There you go. Yeah, and as we close, once again, thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Leslie Scott Jones. And so that's the best way to reach you. And so I take it that there may be opportunities for sponsors, for Jefferson, like whether you just want to donate financial support or maybe sponsor a young person membership, whatever the case is. Like, do they still reach the same way?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Good
I'm
stuff.
here. I'm around. If you know me at all, I'm always there.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but if we have a minute or two, Charles, Leslie, I'm sure you and your team, talk about the future of the Heritage Center, just the direction that it's headed in. Can you share anything with us about what may be on the horizon?
Well, the board just voted on our new strategic plan, which that is what precipitated the change in my title. So the next strategic plan is for the next 10 years. And what we want to do is eventually, starting with the Saturday school, grow it into a Black Arts Academy. So it's not just, drumming a guitar on a Saturday. It's a whole array of all types of art that we are engaging Black children in. And Dr. Douglas and I, we dream big. We dream like 50,000 feet.
That's good.
And we sit on the front porch and talk all the time. And I was like, I want to get to the point where, we have a kid that plays jazz trumpet, and we're the ones that call Howard and say, to the music department, yo, I got one for you.
Yeah. So you're sounding like the Duke Ellington School up in DC, right? Yeah. There's no reason we can't do that.
There's no reason we can't do that. You can't tell me that the talent to get a child from to that level ain't here, because I know it is.
It is.
Right. We just need y'all to come in and take advantage of the space that is yours.
Yeah. And while we on it too, like I mentioned to you, like there's no you see all the space we have here. So if and I've talked to to Lester and folks at Music Resource Center as well. If you come across young folks that wants to learn about radio, broadcasting, media, send them our way. You know what? BJ Pendleton and I have been talking for 2 years about doing an audio production class specifically for Black girls. Okay, love it.
Because, he's been doing this thing for 20 years, and he's like, I don't ever see Black women doing what I do. And he's like, and it's stupid. They should be doing what I do. He goes, they'd probably be a lot better at it than I am. Like everything else, y'all better at it. Well, I wasn't gonna say it, but since you said it, I ain't gonna take it wrong. But we've been trying to get that off the ground for 2 years. And literally the only thing stopping us is having the children. Okay. Make some things happen. Aaron, Max, all hearts and minds clear?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you so much, Leslie. Thank you.
Absolutely. So much fun.
Yeah, anytime. Doors always open.
And give our best to Andrea as well.
Well, she is taking the day off.
There we go. Well deserved. Much deserved.
Right.
All right, family. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back next hour. Got much more show coming up. Jody Cabasa and this year's 35th annual Virginia Film Festival. IMHO Talk Show. Hit us up.
Take us with you on the go. Download the free TuneIn radio app and search
Ooh, I got a shout out. Who should I be out?
Where you go.
Go ahead and grab your headphones so you can keep it online.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion, only on 101.3 Jazz.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, AA Ron, and we're still here, still standing for the middle of the show, second hour. And we appreciate y'all. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. And speaking of which, we are joined, as promised, by Jody Kabasa and Ilya of the Film Festival, Virginia's Film Festival, the 35th.
That's right. That's right.
35th annual. And first of all, I want to thank Jody and team for always, joining our airwaves and seeing the importance of you, our listeners. And I appreciate, the great work and the diversity that your team shows year in and year out, and the films seem to get better. So how you feeling? Year 35.
I think we feel pretty good about the lineup this year. Ilya Tovitz, who's joining us today, is been with us now for a little over 6 months, and he joined us from Washington, D.C. as our senior programmer, and he's brought a wealth of experience to the festival, and I think it shows in this year's lineup. We've got far and away, I think, the most diverse lineup of films and of special guest artists that we're bringing in this year that I've ever seen in my now 14 years running the Virginia Film Festival. So I'm really pleased with it. Now it's really, kind of up to us to reach out to the community and hopefully get them excited and feel comfortable about getting back in the theaters after the pandemic that we've all experienced in the last couple of years.
Like, so when you look at Charlottesville, Jody, and you look at year 35, like, how did you guys approach this? Like, what's different about the 35th?
Well, I mean, one of the things that's different is having Ilya join the team. I think he's brought a significant amount of experience and a particular interest, I think, in international cinema as well, which is reflected in this year's program. And also, again, a commitment to, bringing in diverse artists as well. And, that can be a crapshoot from year to year. People have to say yes to come into. It's not that we're inviting, but if you saw our track record on the number of no's that we received for whatever reasons, personal reasons, or they're busy, or whatever the case may be, we certainly wouldn't be hitting on a Major League Baseball team, that's for sure. But this year we really ended up with a great selection of artists, and so I think that's one of the different things. And then again, we're coming back out of the pandemic, so we've been ramping up. Last year we were back in person, but because we had to test people to get on the stage to be able to talk, we were really at a disadvantage. We only brought in about 35 people, and we're going to be bringing in probably close to 100, 125 total filmmakers, artists, movie stars this year, which really makes for just a really great lineup of people that will join us. Ilya, I don't know if you want to add to this as well.
Absolutely. I think that Jody hit the nail on the head. In terms of returning from the pandemic, the last festival was already fully in person, and it was actually the first large major cultural event to be back in Charlottesville, not in a virtual sense. But the pandemic was still with us in a way that we're not entirely past it, but I think we're a little bit more comfortable with what it holds. And what that meant for this year is we're inaugurating a good number of awards for the first time, giving them out to major stars like Jonathan Majors, who is our breakthrough star. On Thursday evening, we're showing the film Devotion, about the first ever African-American naval pilot, played by Jonathan Majors. For those whose name doesn't immediately ring out, I'm sure if you don't today, within a couple of months, he is slated to be the co-lead in Creed 3. He is going to be taking over the Marvel Universe as Kang the Conqueror.
That's right.
And before, you might have seen him in 2017 in an amazing film, Last Black Man in San Francisco, where he had the lead, Five Bloods. He is really, truly on the precipice of superstardom and has already shown dynamic and range. He's getting our Breakthrough Star Award. It's just one of many honors that we're honoring.
I might add, if you haven't seen the trailer for Creed 3 yet,
that's another one.
Look it up. It's awesome, and he's phenomenal. It's wow! I can't wait to see that film with him in it too.
So Ilias, real quick, Charles. Ilias, I'm curious.
Lovecraft County country, and
I love it. I'm still mad it got canceled. I don't know what HBO was thinking.
He showed up in Loki. He's had already quite a number of credits for a young actor, but he is truly about to take over Hollywood if he has not already.
And Miss Max, go ahead.
Yeah, no, so I was just curious about Elias's drive for having a more diverse lineup, as you all have mentioned today. Is that is the driving force behind that just the history of Charlottesville, and especially the recent history? There are just more works out there with that are written by minorities, or minorities are leading roles that are just, of I don't know, I don't want to say better quality, but they just deserve a spot, I guess I can say, in the film festival this year.
I think hopefully this is where we're headed as a country, as Hollywood, as an entertainment industry. I know for the festival, it is absolutely critical to our mission to present the world in all of its perspectives, its shades, its backgrounds, ethnicities, sociopolitical, and so forth. We are looking for the festival to be two things, and they're really flip sides of the same coin. One is a reflection of the entirety of our community. So we want people to see themselves, see heroes from their community on screen reflected through representation. And the other is discovery, is to see people that don't look like yourself, or maybe that do, but that have a very different background, different perspectives halfway around the world. So when Jody talked about the international cinema, part of our goal here really is to bring the world to Charlottesville, to bring the world of perspectives to Charlottesville, whether that be African-American, whether that be Asian, Latino, so forth.
Gotcha. I have to ask, like, do you guys feel a pressure, like from different, I'll say interest groups? Like, is there a pressure to be represented? You know what I mean? Because I gotta imagine, like, there has to be a fine balance between first saying, okay, like, this is the quality of work, this is a body of work that deserves to be in a film festival, versus we need to have this representation from Group A.
No, I don't. I mean, first and foremost, I think that all the groups that we're representing have really high quality works. We're not showing bad films in the film festival, and there's plenty of excellent work that's being done by people of all colors and ethnicities and races, socio-political, as you said. And I think that the festival is able to represent that. And there's also bad work being done by lots of people in the world too. We can happily ignore that work without any pressure, because there's so much good work being done that it's easy enough to be able to bring that. I think that the biggest issue, and sometimes you've seen it reflected in the festival and sometimes not seen it reflected in the festival, is that we can only invite people to come into the festival. We can't even begin to pay people large sums of money, because you can imagine what a lot of these Hollywood stars get, and you can't begin to pay a fee for them to show up. So of course we fly them in, we put them up, but we're really dependent upon them saying yes ultimately. And I think I'm really excited, because what we've done is we've expanded the number of asks that we put out there, as we've also expanded the diversity of the program. And so I think this year more than ever, we have a better, higher batting average than we've had in past years of bringing in a really diverse slate of artists, which is good. I think the films have always been part of the program. We've always had a lot of great diverse films, but even more so this year.
Yeah, I was definitely impressed, when I saw Jonathan Majors, was coming. But of course, like, you guys have had Spike Lee before, and so you've had big names. But like you said, anyone that's not familiar with his work definitely should get familiarized, because I'm definitely a huge fan. So looking forward to hearing what he has to say. So I tell you what, Max, Aaron, if it's cool, let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we can kind of bust down through the actual schedule, and Ilya and Jody can give us their, like, some of their top favorites, and maybe from this list that they think our listeners should know about. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. So we are talking to Jody and Ilya of the Virginia Film Festival, and they are in their 35th annual year for the festival, and it is November 2nd through the 6th this year. So stay tuned. We're gonna be right back with Jody and Ilya. All right. I am HO family. Be right back at it. All right.
See Bill's #1 for classics and interactive hip hop and R&B. It's 101 Jam. say too, in my humble opinion. Only on 101.3.
Once again, back like we never left. Sir Charles, Miss Max, AA, Ron, and as promised, we are joined by Ilya, Jody, and we're talking about this year's Virginia Film Festival, the 35th annual. And so, I think what we want to do now is kind of like jump into the schedule. And again, that's November 2nd through 6th when the film festival is this year. And so I know some of the festivities are already underway. So what's some ways you've already been engaging folks in the community?
Well, about 2 weeks ago, we had our annual press announcement launch party. We had about 400 people over at the Jefferson Theater. That's usually really highly anticipated evening because that's when we, Ilya and I announce the entire program. We go through the films and the guest artists that are coming in. But the festival itself starts, as you mentioned, with just our opening night film on Wednesday, November 2nd, and we're opening up with The Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. It's directed by Ryan Johnson, and of course, it stars Daniel Craig, who returns as the detective Benoit Blanc. But an incredible lineup of also, like an all-star cast that includes Janelle Monáe, Leslie Odom Jr., Edward Norton, Catherine Hahn, Ethan Hawke, just extraordinary actors. And this is just a kind of a fun way to open up the festival. I love a classic whodunit. They don't make many good ones anymore these days, and it's just kind of an entertaining way to open the festival. And then starting on Thursday, we go full bore into the festival with a full slate of films. And Ilya, I don't know if you want to take us through some of those films as well, and of course talk a little bit about Jonathan Majors and Devotion, because I am really excited that we're bringing him through. I think that the great thing about bringing Jonathan Majors in, not only is everybody next year to see him on the big screen in so many different ways and so many great films, but I think for years to come, you're going to see his growth as an artist. He's going to be a major star, and he's a phenomenal actor.
Yep.
So there are over 100 programs and events over the course of the 5 days, and as Jody mentioned, it kicks off with a tremendous celebration with Glass Onion, and that's the only real public event happening in opening night. And 4 days, wall-to-wall theaters in downtown Charlottesville and on the grounds of UVA as well. So I think one of the best ways to jump into the program is to talk about some of the top lining honors and talent. We've, of course, already touched on Jonathan Majors with our Breakthrough Star Award. I wanted to talk about a few other awards. One is for someone that's behind the screen. Very often we focus on directors, actors, filmmakers that we might recognize by face. But of course, if anyone's ever stayed for the credits after a big budget movie, you'll see they'll roll on and on and on. And that's because it takes truly an army of creative people that are thinking visually, that are thinking creatively about how to bring narrative stories to you. And we wanted to spotlight some of the folks that are really doing high-level work here. So thrilled this year to be bringing Eugenio Caballero. He is the production designer for a brand new film by Alejandro Iñárritu, who was 5 times nominated and also won an Oscar award for Best Film. He's back with Bardo, perhaps his most personal tale. This one is about a Mexican journalist. It's the first time in a while that Alejandro Iñárritu has returned back to Mexico. And the production designer has a lot to do with the art direction, how everything looks on screen physically. And if you were to just check out the trailer, which I highly recommend for Bardo, you'll see how the visuals jump off the wall, how zany they are, how vibrant they are, how dynamic they are. And much of that is the work of Eugenio Caballero, who we are giving our craft award to this year on Saturday night with Bardo.
Oh, awesome. And so I'll take it, is that one in Spanish with subtitles? Or?
Absolutely. Just about all of our international films, which is a good deal of our lineup, close to half the lineup is international, are all in the original language, always with U.S. subtitles. So.
Gotcha. Awesome. Yeah, and I was looking at like the series and the themes and whatnot. Like, what's some of the thought process behind that? As far as how you're grouping the films. I guess like to make sure that you're covering, like a lot of the different bases. Like to tell as many stories as possible.
Well, I think that's it exactly. There's so many great stories to be told by artists, and we want to be able to look at a number of different countries and people. We have a series that focuses on Korean cinema. We have a series that takes a look at Mexican cinema. We have an environmental series, which is a new series that we've launched this year as well. Of course, we have a Black Excellence series with an incredible lineup of films and several artists. I don't know if you want to touch about Sam Pollard is one of the awards that you were going to talk about as well. But, a great documentary that he's just done.
Absolutely. So in the Black Excellence series, which celebrates African American life and perspectives, there are 11 in total, but one of the others is an award winner. As Jody mentioned, Sam Pollard, who is considered one of the foremost chroniclers of the African American experience today. We're in fact giving him our Chronicler Award, honoring a documentarian. He is in town with a brand new film called Lowndes County and the Road to Black Power, which could scarcely be more timely. This is a film about voter disenfranchisement, right as we are on the precipice, of course, of a huge midterm election. And while this focuses on the 60s in the South, primarily many of the tactics, many of the themes that the film explores in terms of disenfranchising voters, making voting more difficult, are still very current and timely and important for us to discuss today. And we are deeply honored to have with us Sam Pollard. For those who might not recognize his name immediately, for a long period of time, he was Spike Lee's editor and co-producer on films such as Bamboozled, Fever, Four Little Girls, for which he was nominated for an Oscar, and several others. And then a little bit under 10 years ago, he struck out on his own and began to produce and direct his own works. You might recognize films like MLK, FBI, or Citizen Ash, Two Trains Running, and of course this new one, Lowndes County and the Road to Black Power.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess you mentioned yours earlier, but Jody, like what's maybe the film or two that you're most looking forward to?
Well, I think one of them we've talked about, and of course, I've already seen this film, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what the audience's reaction is to Devotion and Jonathan Major's work, and having him on the stage and receiving this award and the conversation afterwards, because this is a film that's based on a true story about Jesse L. Brown, who's the first Black naval pilot who fought in the Korean War. He was an extraordinary pilot, and sadly, he was shot down and killed. And it's also the story about his wingman who went to try and rescue him and bring him back. They're still trying to retrieve his body. And it's a beautiful, moving story, beautifully acted by Majors. And, it's important to share these stories back when, being the very first African-American pilot to fly, and very often they're forgotten. And of course, he was honored posthumously, but to be able to share that story as one of the true heroes of that particular conflict, the Korean War, is really important, vitally important to tell that story. So I'm looking forward to see what the audience reaction is. This is kind of a traditional war film, and he's the hero of this film, essentially. So I'm not sure that it's breaking new ground there, but again, it's a story that has not been told before. So I think that's really significant. I'm looking forward to seeing how the audience responds to Descendant as well. Now, this film is all going to be out in advance of the festival, but this is about the story of the Clotilda, which was the last slave trading ship that came in illegally after slave trading, and bringing Africans in had been outlawed for many, many years. And this one individual did it anyway, scuttled the ship out of fear of being detained and potentially convicted. And the descendants settled in Africa Town in Alabama. And for years, this story was passed down and people refused to believe it. And that ship has been discovered. And so this is their story, the descendants, and particularly here in our own community of Charlottesville, with the descendants who were involved with the building of the University of Virginia and Montpelier and Monticello. This is a story of their story that's come to light in the last several years, finally. And I think this is an opportunity to look at another community as well and to tell that story. And it plays out on many, many different levels. So it's a fascinating story as well.
Yeah, I believe a friend of ours, Leticia Gathers, is going to be on the panel.
Yes.
Right? The discussion for that.
That's
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Finish your comment, Jody.
I'm sorry.
I didn't want to interrupt. I thought I interrupted your comment. No, all I was going to say is, why do you do this, Jody? Because it's much bigger than people showing up to fill seats to watch a film. Why do you do this?
Well, it isn't. It is, you're absolutely right. It's far bigger than that. But I think that, at least in my experience, you know, there are people that get together that meet to talk about these issues sometimes. Sometimes they'll go to hear a lecture from somebody, or sometimes there's a community presentation. And I think that's absolutely valuable on every level. But film is really different because a lot of people go to a film and they might be going because they're truly interested in this, or they might want to learn about it. And I think film as an art form makes this very accessible to engage in discussion about it. So that's really important. People go to the film that might be unconvinced, or they might not have heard the story, and they'll open up to hearing it. And then that's the beauty of the film festival, is we have these kind of community discussions afterwards that I think are really accessible to people. People might be intimidated to go to a different type of event, but they'll go to the festival, and then their ears and their eyes will be opened by this conversation. So from my perspective, that's why I do it. And, you know, during the process of programming, I've learned personally a lot, a great deal, by seeing these films and then hearing other people that engage in the conversation. So it's a learning process for me as well.
Yeah, to that point, Max's question, like I can feel that energy. Like there's an art to what you guys do, right? You know what I mean? Like there's art being presented and displayed, but the work that you're doing is art in itself. You know, because I heard you mention like the joy that I can tell that you get out of seeing the reaction of your viewers and seeing people satisfied and enjoying a presentation.
Well, providing that platform for people to have these discussions is really great. We're not breaking new ground here. We're absolutely not. These discussions are going on, but are they always reaching people that need to be reached?
Exactly.
And so, you know, my hope is this is a portal to allow those conversations to happen. You know, I genuinely get excited when we see a film, whether it's a narrative film or a documentary film, that is so current in terms of what's happening in our own community. And I say, I know this is going to resonate in our community. All we need to do is provide the platform and invite people to show up and get some of the right speakers involved to share their own stories about this. And so that's I think that's one of the best things about the film festival, and the thing that excites me more than anything is my very small thing, just by providing a platform that I can give back to the community.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. I know that the last thing that I had is something that jumped out to me was the imagining the fight against Native American mascot. Like that's such a huge thing right now, as it's been for forever, right? The history of the country, right? Of just the respect, for the natives. And I even know about, like, we've had a guest on from the Monacan Indian Nation, here in Virginia, where they're trying to, keep their sanctity and things of that sort. So I'm curious, like, was there any work or input, like that was more involved, when it comes to native representation? Like maybe sort of the same way that it is, or is it something that you're looking to have maybe in the future?
It is one of the focuses of the festival. So when we talked about the series of themes, one that we have been doing for a number of years and felt really strongly about returning with this year is a focus on North American indigenous cinema. These are films of and about the indigenous communities, the Native American communities. So one of the ones you mentioned specifically talks about a racist representation in mascotting, around sports teams like the Washington football team and others, and how this becomes really a token and a signal of an accepted racism. And it might seem small, it might seem like just a hat you're wearing or a shirt you're wearing, but it really talks to a lack of disrespect and a lack of understanding of what these signals mean and portray to indigenous communities. We also have a beautiful film called Powerland, and have Ivy Camille Many Beats So coming in, who is that young filmmaker talking about activism and environmental activism from within indigenous communities. She's a young woman living on reservation lands, and talks about how the community is lifting itself up to fight back against environmental degradation, environmental racism, and other things that are affecting the Indigenous community at large.
Awesome. Thank both of you, Jody and earlier, and Max. If it's cool with you, we'll wrap up. But I wanted to, definitely give you guys the floor to just, sort of make your last pitch. Let folks know, how to access their tickets.
Sure.
Also, folks that may want to get involved in other ways, like whether it's volunteering or whether it's folks who want to know, like when the submission, is open for festivals, all that.
Sure. I mean, the best and easiest way to learn more about the festival program is to go online at virginiafilmfestival.org. I think we've got a pretty good website. You can play trailers from a lot of these films. There's the synopses written about the films. There's a whole section that will show you both the photographs and the biographies of all the guest artists that we're bringing in, and the events that we're doing. If you're interested in filmmaking, we have an incredible series of panels on Saturday morning at the Code Building, and that's free and open to the public. We've got a great family screening of new film called My Father's Dragon that's based on Ruth Style Gammit's beloved children's classic, and that's going to be Saturday morning, and we've got a family-friendly price of $5 for kids under 12. So I think the best way to festival.org, you can get your tickets online. If you want to show up in person, purchase tickets, you can do so at the UVA Arts box office, which is on the grounds of the University of Virginia and Culver Theater, and there is parking there. And then during the festival, we'll be selling tickets directly out of the Violet Crown Cinema as well too. So those are just ways to access the festival, and the festival is really open to everybody. It's essentially the price of a movie to attend. Some people don't understand that, but except for a handful of movies that we're charging $20 for, everything else is I believe $14.
Now, a point that you brought up is like family or children programming, maybe something that you like to see increase, because there's one thing that I hear in Charlottesville a lot, and not just with the film festival, but like some folks say, I like to go, but childcare or whatever. Has there been more focus on doing more like family or children oriented?
Well, I mean, we had a whole family program on Saturday morning where we did a free screening for kids, and we had all sorts of activities for kids and everything like that. And then the pandemic hit, and we said, we can't really do that right now. So we haven't returned to that yet. That's something we hope to explore, next year again. But right now we are offering this one film, which is a new film on this beloved children's classic that we think will really hopefully engage kids and families if they want to touch the festival in that manner right now.
Right.
So I understand that I've got 3 kids and they're all older now, and I don't have to worry about the child care circumstance. I certainly went through that 10 years ago and completely understand it.
So Jody and Eric, thank you all for the work.
Is there any attendance protocol that people need to be aware of? Mask recommended, limited seating for social distancing, anything like that?
No, the festival this year is moving ahead. We always encourage people to wear masks if they feel that they either feel more protected that way, or if they have any reason to believe that hopefully they're not showing up if they're negative. If they're positive. Excuse me. But we're trying to move ahead with the festival without any restrictions or protocols this year. So we're not doing distance seating. We're not testing people or showing proof of vaccination or anything in advance this year.
One quick item to mention, this is not specifically around COVID, but because we have had tickets now on sale for about a week or so, some of the events are proving to be very popular, and advance tickets to some do sell out. That does not mean that you're entirely out of luck. You can show up and get on a wait list line, and very often some people do get in off those wait list lines. There tends to be a very popular screening. But I would say if any of this conversation, or if you're hopping over our website or seeing any of the ads, pique your interest in seeing a film, I would highly advise going out, getting an advance ticket through the website or through one of the ticketing offices, just to ensure that you're able to get into those screens.
Great.
Yeah, thank you all once again, and definitely looking forward to it. And again, appreciate y'all for staying in touch.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we were joined by Jody and Ilya of the 35th annual 2022 Virginia Film Festival set for November 2nd through the 6th. Definitely visit virginiafilmfestival.org if so moved, and definitely want to be a part of this this athletic staple that we have in our community. So IMHO family, stay tuned. Still got another hour, over an hour left of show. So Sir Charles, Miss Max, tell a friend, we'll be right back at it.
Most talented on 101 Jams. Baby, showcasing the best talent in the state.
I am Ho Talk Show.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
You know what it is. They know what it is, Miss Max. Miss Max, how you doing?
I'm good. Listen, it's been a minute. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the history of IMHO, Charles and I are the only guest on today, and this is how we started. This is
This
it
is how
right
we
here.
started.
Mm-hmm.
How we started in much, tighter quarters, as they would say.
Right.
Not as many amenities as we have now.
Mm-hmm.
We had to cut our teeth, as they say.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, but Max, we are up against the hour, and folks, we are going to be joined next hour by Jesse Higgins of Charlottesville tomorrow. But Max, since it's been a minute, since Aaron and Razor have been been breathing all our air, we're gonna let it breathe a little bit right now. And every superhero gotta have their theme music, Max.
Yeah. I've been told that the listeners are missing the Ask Max segment of the show, so I'm glad to get back to that. You know, it has been so. It's been recently brought to my attention that people are in the spirit of the holiday coming up, Halloween. People are um, getting away from Christianity or choosing a more alternative form of spirituality, namely witchcraft. Um, and I believe there was a recent article. Charles can elaborate on that, but there's a recent article about that, in fact. And Charles, I'll also tell you, I went into Barnes and Noble yesterday, and like there's a whole section of witchcraft books, and it
Mhm.
made me feel a little funny, but I realize it's a
Not
real
funny.
thing, no different than people believe in God, Jesus, and heaven. There's a hell, there's a devil, and all of his nymphs, and so
Mm.
yeah, this is a real thing.
It
And
definitely is a real thing.
so I guess this is more, I don't know if there's a question in there, but more so just thoughts on it about people getting away from your traditional religions and choosing things, namely witchcraft.
Yeah. Well, in true Ask Max fashion,
Mhm.
you set it up, I knock it over, and then you bring it home.
Yeah.
So, um, for me, but here's what it looks like to me, Max.
Hmm.
Um, as we've talked about before, when it comes to religion and beliefs, right? Like people are so jaded, right? People are like bored, tired in many ways. Like they see like a lot of ineffectiveness, like when it comes to organized religion.
Uh-huh.
Um, some say it's because we're like educated more than ever, and then the danger there is if you put your education above your spirituality,
Yeah.
you know. Um, but really, Max, the core and in the essence, this is
Mhm.
not a bad thing.
Huh?
At the core and in its essence,
I'm listening. I'm
and at,
listening.
at its core and its essence, and let me tell you
I
why.
feel like you about to pull a razor on
No. This is Sir Charles. This is it. Look, because what I think is happening that is, like in all its innocence,
me.
um, is that folks are trying to get back to the core, to the root of spirituality. Like they want to find something that they feel again, something that works. Because again, like once you see so many crooked pastors, once you see so many, people blaspheming, so many hypocrites and whatnot, like
Hmm.
it does make you question things, right?
But I mean, come on, witchcraft, you can't get no more crooked than that.
No, I feel you. I feel you. Like so here's where I'm coming from with that. Then, like I'm not talking about that it's okay to worship the devil. Please don't think that's what I'm saying.
Hmm.
But what I am saying is it's just like how you can have members of the KKK who
Hmm.
claim that they're Christians.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
Like
do.
what I do know is that the root of especially us as a people of
Mhm.
like spirituality. And if we believe that Africa is the motherland and things of that sort, which I do, like I do believe that the original Hebrews, are of African descent, and that's not anti-Semitic, regardless of what the world may say.
Mhm.
Um, what I'm saying is that when it comes to spirituality, I feel like people are trying to get to the rawness of it. So
Mhm.
it's just like how things like voodoo was like demonized by
Mhm.
by American Hollywood, where really it was it was very prophetic. It was about someone having the gifts to heal, which the Bible speaks of, right? So so the good side of it is that I feel like people are trying to get back to the rawness and the roots of good, like wholesome spirituality, and to really connect to our nature. Now the bad side, absolutely, the bad side is that we're giving up and we're letting the devil have his way, and we're letting evil spirits reign, and we rather like send the world to hell in a handbasket because that's the way it was going anyway. Like that side is bad. But the side of people trying to connect on a deep, natural, spiritual level, I see nothing wrong with that. That's me, Miss Max. What you got?
Huh. I mean, yeah, I really, I really do feel like that we're living in a lost and confused world. And I don't know if it's so much of people trying to get back to something as it is people just lost. They don't know what to believe in, they don't know what to think. They're looking for direction and have no clue what's the correct one. And they're choosing any and all directions, you know? I mean, you can literally choose to be Christian today and then I don't know, some atheist the next day, you know? Like people have a difficult time thinking for themselves. Um, this, I personally believe there's a huge element of mind control going on this day and age. You know, like people, it shows in how someone can put something out there and everybody so easily can jump on the bandwagon of that belief or whatever it is that they stated and ride that thing out and look at it as gospel. You know, we can't think independently. We are have no regard for life. We anything goes. You know, we're so self-consumed and self-absorbed. Our kids are lost. Like
Yeah,
I really just think we we take life so lightly.
yeah,
Um, you know, and it's just
yeah. And I
there's
think that
still a
the
lot of
kids are
evil
crying out for
things
help.
in this world, and I still choose the good, and I still believe in the good and the right
Yeah,
thing. But it's it's a horrible world, you know.
yeah,
Period. Point blank.
yeah.
And
And to your
so,
point, I think that's the kids crying
hmm
out for help too. Like kids are trying to find something real because the
yeah,
kids see the mess
yeah,
that their families may be in, that their communities are in,
hmm
and then like sometimes like when they act up, like they're crying out for help
yeah,
and for
yeah,
answers as well, just like adults are.
yeah, yeah,
You know?
absolutely. And so, I think personally, I think that it's more of that than anything else. Now, granted, religion has done its number on a lot of different people, but you know, it's still also a matter of mm, of being centered
Mhm.
and knowing what to using good judgment as far as what you should and shouldn't follow and when you should be involved in something and you should step away and not taking everything for face value. You know, you have to use
Mhm.
your own internal judgment. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Instead of just running off with any and everything that someone else is telling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you know, I think that's what the issue is. It does not
Mhm.
surprise me that people are getting away from your traditional religions and you know finding some other source to I don't know rely on to help guide their life. The unfortunate part is that when you're choosing the wrong source,
Mhm.
you're not making things any better. You know,
Right. Right. So,
it's
Miss Max, so
unfortunate. Like what can you say? It's unfortunate. I wish for better, want better, but I can only do so much, and that's kind of maintain me and minds and be the light, not to be cliche, but be the light and the
mhm,
salt
mhm.
that I was put here on this earth to be. That's
Yeah.
it.
So, Miss Max, so you saying that if I wanted to come through like to help, you know, with some sage, and then I wanted to leave an incense burning, you gonna tell me to get that stuff out of here, Miss Max? Is that what you
You
telling
know,
me?
I'm gonna feel some kind of way about it. You know, I'm feel some kind of way
Oh,
about it. But
I feel you.
yeah, that's just it. That's just it. Our world needs prayer. I will. He's
Absolutely.
there. And, we need help.
Okay, well, we up against the hour. You can go ahead and take us home, Miss Max. Well, take us to break. We're gonna be right back to make sure we got our voting in order, our election season.
Yeah, of course. Listeners, don't go anywhere. A guest from Seville tomorrow's up next, none other than
Jesse Higgins.
Jesse Higgins. Any questions for her, feel free to hit us up at 434-422-9101. You can also send us a message on all of our social media platforms. We're streaming right now on Facebook, possibly even YouTube. Charles, you correct me if I'm wrong, but
You right.
thank
You
you,
right.
Dave. More information to share. IMHO style. You know how we do. We'll be right back.
We're the only
All right,
one
Max, here we go.
classics in today's hip hop and all. You already know. 1013 jams.
Hold on, wait.
You're listening to, in my humble opinion, only on 101.3 jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max. Top of the hour for the bottom of the show, Miss Max.
Mm-hmm.
We did it one more again.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Good show.
Yeah. You know, like always, like I think. And the folks, hopefully they've been enjoying it as well. And as promised, we want to be joined right now by our very own family. It's family time again. We have Jesse Higgins back in the building with us. Jesse, it's been a minute, but doing well.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me back. I really missed being on the show.
Yeah. The door is always open, always welcome. For those that don't know, Seville Inclusive Media Project, yours truly, IMHO, Vinegar Hill Magazine in Charlottesville tomorrow. So, it's about that time, Miss Max. We are in another fall. We're in another election season. Now, this one, in some regards, Jesse, as you bring the folks Charlottesville tomorrow's 2022 voter guide, this one is a little smaller when it comes to, there's not as many elections for the direct Charlottesville area, but of course, the surrounding areas are listening to us as well. And we're streamed worldwide. But when it comes to Charlottesville tomorrow's 2022 voter guide, what's sort of the takeaways? Like, what's the highlights from this year's voters guide?
Okay, so our voter guide right now is very specific to Charlottesville and Albemarle County, which, like you said, does not have a whole lot of races. If you're in Charlottesville and everything but a very small sliver of Albemarle County, you're going to be voting for either Representative Bob Good or his challenger, Democrat Josh Throneberg. So it's a 5th district race. And that's it. But like you said, there's a lot of people listening right now, and there's a lot of people in our expanded coverage area that are about to be represented in the voter guide, because if you pan out just a little bit to our surrounding counties, we have a lot of races.
Yes.
So by the end of the week, our voter guide is going to represent the many, many local races that are around the Charlottesville area. So the town of Scottsville has a town council race. In Greene County, Standardsville town council race. In Louisa County, they're voting for a mayor, and also the school board, the town councils, Orange County town council. So I can just go on and on and list the minutia, but there's going to be a lot of races that we have in the voter guide.
Yeah. I believe Fluvanna has school board election as well, I believe, if not mistaken.
Yeah.
So as far as those key dates too, so let's see, we already missed the registration deadline.
Yes. If you're not registered to vote, you've missed the vote.
You missed this one. But the ballot by mail, October 28th. For those maybe out of town or what have you. The early voting runs September 23rd through November 5th. Right. So wow, like that's just the day before, right? So you can vote that Monday before the election. Well, no, the election day, that's Friday. Right. So that's the Friday of the week previous. So the election day is November 8th.
Election day is November 8th.
That's right. So as far as Charlottesville and Albemarle, how about we start there, Jesse and Miss Max? So Good and Thornburg. Like, were you able to catch some of the stump speeches and some of the campaigning, or anybody from the team? Or
I actually haven't this year. You probably know our government reporter, Charlotte Renee Woods.
Charlotte. Hope you're listening.
So a lot of the more intensive coverage that we would have done does not happen this year. Yes. Mostly we've been focusing really intensely on trying to understand what our readers want to know from their candidates, both local, so this one, the big one, Good and Throneburg, and then also the other local races. So we put out a survey at the beginning of the year asking people, okay, what is it that you need to know from races? And we had an amazing array of responses back that we're compiling into different I guess they're going to be different categories on the website. So that if you have like an issue that you really want to know, okay, how do all of the candidates that I can vote for feel about this issue? A big one was gun violence and gun control in the survey. Another big one was school shootings. Then a lot of economy questions, tax questions, abortion, huge, which is not something that a lot of local candidates really have any say in, although they really have opinions. So we're going to be asking and collecting data and voting records on all of those issues from all of the candidates that are going to be listed, so that by the end of the week, voters can go in and look and see, okay, this is the issue I care about, or these are the candidates that I have. How do they feel about these things?
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Now, good. Did he run unopposed? Like, he had the ticket to himself. As far as you know, like, was there anybody trying to get him out of his seat on the Republican side?
Oh, good.
Yeah. Did he run unopposed?
He did have a challenger.
Yeah, I was thinking he did. That's why I was
Or
trying to verify.
Yeah, and I don't remember who the challenger was.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
no,
embarrassing.
No, that's totally fine. No, the reason I asked is because like with those issues that you just mentioned, even though there's not a lot of different elections, for our direct listening area, those are big issues.
Oh my gosh,
Those are big issues. Like, so you said you surveyed some of the readers or whatnot. Like, but what's some of the contrasting differences that you see between the two?
Between Good and Thornburg?
Yeah, Thornburg, yeah.
I mean, they are such wildly different candidates. Like, I mean, Good is top of his website. One of his key supporters, or what's the word when you endorsements, is from former President Donald Trump. So you can kind of see from that like what the type of candidate that Bob Good is. He is very Republican, more almost Trumpian in his Republican. So he's not a more moderate Republican.
Right.
On the other side.
That's a big. I'm glad you said that, 'cause that's a big difference.
It is.
Because you have like the Liz Cheneys of the world who felt like that Trump is running the party off a cliff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so there's a divide, and when you say a Republican nowadays, like what does that mean?
Yeah. Well, and so for Good, he is both extremely easy to get information about because he is a sitting representative. You can look at his voting record and you can look at his speeches. He does not speak often, at least to local media. We have a very hard time getting responses from him, and I've heard that from other local media that they have a hard time getting responses. There is a debate between Good and Thornburg happening soon, I believe. I forget actually. I think we wrote a story about this, and I don't want to.
Now, but something for people to keep an eye out on. And, I don't think we said either. So CVilleTomorrow.org/2022 voter guide is where you all can get the updates, as these stories develop. From Charlottesville Tomorrow, from Jesse and the whole team. Shouts out to Angela too, by the way, chief editor. Angela Shaw.
Yes. Okay, here's the story. I want to actually say this. So it's Wednesday, the 26th. It's going to be the only debate between Good and Thornburg. Thornburg has actually challenged Good to multiple debates. This is the only one that he said yes to. We have a story on the site so you can see both how to see it in person and also how to see it streamed online.
Okay, cool.
I mean, although to a certain extent, like, yes, these are interesting. I don't know that there are many voters that are really on the fence between these two candidates.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're just so wildly different. I mean, you're either voting for a very conservative Trump endorsed candidate, or you're voting for a liberal Democrat.
Yeah.
Now, when you pan out to the local races, those ones are going to be a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Where I'm personally, although I'm not voting in any of those because I'm in Charlottesville, very interested to see like what some of these different candidates think about the issues that our readers have identified as important, but that are issues that local officials don't have the same sort of sway in, or have a different type of sway in than our national leaders. So things like gun control. People have said that that's a really important issue that they care about on either side. But a town council they don't have a lot of say on that, except one area they do is they can decide whether people are allowed to carry in their town
Yeah, the town,
or
yeah.
on their
Like their
property.
businesses and
Yes.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. So there is ways that they have a sway and not, but it's going to be very interesting to point out like both what they feel and how they can influence people's lives.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. So it's like, so when you guys have been surveying your readers and whatnot, on the items that's most important to them, like I'm curious if you're able to get a gauge on the importance of just the voting in general, like
Oh my gosh.
like the demographics, because I know that you guys from Giles on through the staff, like are big on the numbers backing up the data, and so it's like, so are you seeing like that it's a generational thing? Like, I guess like some of your younger readers, and I don't know like how you separate, the folks you survey, but I'm curious on if folks are still as engaged, as they've been. Like does this, because we're like, we are talking, to our listeners, we're talking about your congressional district. The Congress holds a lot of power.
Oh my gosh, so much.
But it's like, are people excited? There's nobody really talking about it. Like,
no, this is not a election that are that's getting a lot of notoriety, I guess, and perhaps it's because we don't have any local elections, and it's also because we're not voting for president. So I mean, and all of them are in Charlottesville. It's just this one race, and the thing about this particular race that I think makes it a little less exciting for people, especially around here, is it's the 5th district, and the 5th district is not Charlottesville and Albemarle. The 5th district is enormous. It's this massive rectangle that starts at the North Carolina border and just heads north and ends now right near the end of Albemarle County. There's a small sliver of Albemarle that's not part of it, but it historically has been a very conservative district. It's tended to vote Republican, with Albemarle and Charlottesville being a very notable blue island, and the turnout here does not tend to sway that outcome. Now, the 5th district looks different this year than it has previously. There was a pretty intense redistricting effort that was made at the state level to draw districts in a way that were less gerrymandered and more just, based on population size. Now, I haven't read, and I don't see that that's probably going to change the 5th district's voting outcome. It's still very conservative, although it looks much neater. In the coming years, when other districts come up for election, there's going to be major differences. The gerrymandering has stopped, and there's going to be a lot of districts, I think, that vote differently because of it.
Yeah. Miss Max, y'all got some election going over in Green. Are you excited, Miss Max?
I'm not a Greene County anymore.
That's right. You city girl now.
Yeah, I am in Albemarle County now. So no, that's not so much on my radar. Just listen to this conversation. While I guess a lot of the voters aren't as excited about this election as much as they are with others, I think they still do need to understand the importance of getting out and voting.
Yes, please.
Because it's your congressional candidates make a lot of decisions that will trickle down and directly affect you. And so that's the only point that I kind of really want to drive home on this conversation, is making sure that especially the Black community, but everyone is getting out and voting, because the decisions that Congress makes will definitely impact you, your family, or someone that you care about. And so it doesn't sound like there's not much you should educate yourself, but there's not, there's a stark difference in the candidates. And so there's not a lot of homework that you need to do. You just need to show up and really cast your vote. So
no, you are spot on, Mr. Max. That like there's never a good time to sit out. Every election matters.
Yes.
Of course, unless you're somebody who has these beliefs about that you don't vote because it won't matter. Like that's a conversation for another day. But as far as our right to vote, like no election can be set out because there's trickle down effects or there's like ground up effects. Like it starts with grassroots, and and it
Right.
grows, right? Because folks are only gonna be able to accomplish, what they can in office based on their constituents.
Yeah.
So if you're tight locally and you have a focus locally and you vote the right people in locally, then that creates the groundswell for people
Yeah.
to do stuff, at a larger level. Yeah, and to both you guys' points, I mean, like you said, it's a stark contrast and difference between these candidates, but the issues though, that are at hand, and what's important is we're talking about funding to help localities with school construction and renovation.
Oh my gosh, yes.
There's people who who don't believe that enough tax dollars should go to make sure that our schools are in good condition for our kids.
Mhm.
Like we're voting on lowering interest rates for your student loans. We're voting on taxes and fines for like for companies and organizations that are polluting the earth. We're talking about funding for child care support. We're talking about abortion rights and decisions rather, at the local and federal level. So I mean, it's up to y'all, but this is definitely something, November 8th, I think we all should get up, or if you vote early, like we said, by that Friday, November 5th, definitely something to vote for. But Jess, I want to make sure, I don't know if you had anything to say about that, but I wanted to go back to my previous question too, but go ahead.
No, you mentioned the school funding.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that here in Charlottesville, like, oh my gosh, pay attention to that, because the city is trying to rebuild Beaufort Middle School and Walker Upper Elementary School, both schools that desperately need renovation, if not complete, like demolishment and rebuilding, because they're just so old and there's so many things wrong with them, and this is not the environment that we want our kids going to school in. So the reason I want to bring that up is like the city has figured out a way to renovate Beaufort, but they do not have a plan for the rest of it. They don't have a plan for Walker, and not to say that they won't. I'm sure that they're going to figure that out, but these are things where like having that support from the federal level would change the outcome. Okay, what was your question?
Yeah. So no. Thank you for that. I appreciate that input. So, but previously, I want to make sure like that, if it's possible to answer, because I'm curious, since you stepped into your, to your new position as well with Talkshow tomorrow, like how the climate has shifted though, like when it comes to the readers, has it changed much? Because it's generationally, politically, we're different.
Right.
So when it comes to something like a voter guide, I'm curious if folks are kind of like, feeling like that the political process isn't as meaningful, or is it more meaningful?
That's such a hard thing to gauge. I think in general, when we're communicating with people about the voter guide, we don't ask for age, but based on what little I can glean, it does seem to tend to run like either older or people who are just very involved for some other reason. So activists or people who really care about a specific issue. Trying to convince the general population to vote and to care and really to read like news stories is something that we are constantly trying to figure out how to do. Like how do you grab people's attention in a way that tells them like, okay, this either affects you or affects someone or simply just affects someone that you live near. It's a conversation that we actually have a lot. In the news industry, I think in general has a lot where you're trying to like entertain people, and that's going to bring them in, or because like shaping people to bring them in, like you should care about this, doesn't tend to work because they come in with the wrong feeling, So I could talk to you about this in a metaphorical and in a ethereal level for a long time, but
or that's not sustainable. I'm like, if you shame people into it, like you may be able to get them in, but that's not sustainable.
No, not at all.
They're not really buying into it. Yeah. But I will tell folks that you guys have done a great job. And again, cvotetomorrow.org/2022 voter guide. Because when you go to it, like you have the headlines, the key dates are right there in front of you. The list is separated when it comes to the difference between the candidates. And most importantly, listeners and Ms. Max, it ends with your voter guide, and the question is, what do you want to ask your candidates? You know, so for the folks who feel like that they, you know, won't hear back from their candidates, or the folks who feel like that I've called or written letters and didn't get a response or whatnot, like this is another evidence. Like these are folks who, you know, who are here, you know, reporting, able to ask firsthand questions. So go to their website. There's a section at the bottom. What do you want to ask your candidates? And you can simply, you know, put in what matters most to you.
And we are reading those. We are reading those responses. That is really like at the beginning of this conversation, I talked about the things that people said they cared about most. Like, and that we got that directly from this survey. We really have not done any other research in order to compile questions. We are asking candidates what our readers care about.
What are some of the things that you've heard about guns?
Oh my gosh.
Lots of questions.
I mean, so there's a lot of questions about, you know, are you going to impact stricter gun control laws? And, you know, and some of them, a lot of the questions are very general. There are some very specific ones about certain types of restricting semi-automatic weapons. Yeah, or you know, or just in general, just like making it more difficult to purchase without a background check. You know, so you know, those are things that you know that the national level, the Albemarle Charlottesville candidates will have a say in. You know, yeah, I think.
And are you getting a sense that they're more in support of stricter gun rights or policies, or the opposite?
I mean, in our survey, I wish I'd actually brought it with me so I could like look down it. There tended to be more questions that indicated that the voters were in favor of gun control. But you know, there were also plenty of people who are very concerned about Second Amendment rights, and you know, wanting to keep which. You know, unless we pass another amendment, is going to be pretty difficult to you know, overtake. So I do think that, you know, we are like, our readers are not all, you know, uniform. They're not all liberal. They're not all conservative. So, and that's where like my feelings aside, the voter guide is really about just information. Like what do these candidates feel? How do they intend to vote in their capacity, and like in the ways that they're actually able to make a difference about these topics?
That's right. Giving information like a good news team would do, right?
Thank you.
Fair and balanced.
Oh God.
Hey, but I like this quote y'all have on there too. It says, either you or Angela probably came up with this, but it was, you will be impacted by the actions your representative takes. So we seek to elevate your voice and your questions through our journalism. That's a powerful statement right there. I like that. I like that. Yeah. So, well, you know, Jesse, thanks for joining us. You feel like there's anything we're missing? Like, what else should the listeners know for this year?
The one thing I want people to know is that by the end of next week, this voter guide is going to have a lot more information. So, you know, hold tight for a second. If you're listening to this and you're jumping on there, like, wait, she talked about all of these different things, and where are they? They're coming. They're coming. Like, and if you haven't voted yet and you want some more information, and you're perhaps in one of these localities nearby that's got a lot of local elections, we're going to have a lot more information for you. So check back.
Like the people in Madison County, Max, that's dealing with that crazy school board.
You from out that way, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but you know, but I did.
So Jesse, while we have you, is there any other, you know, hot button topics that Charlottesville Tomorrow is writing about or talking about that you'd care to share?
Oh my gosh, one of the things, we have so many good stories coming up, Max. Like I'm always so impressed with our reporters and the topics that they're taking on. I mean, right now, I'm not directly involved in this, but Erin O'Hare, our community reporter, and Angela are in the middle of rolling out this massive project on Charlottesville neighborhoods, and I'm sure that they're going to come on and want to talk to you about that more in detail, in a way that I'm just simply not capable of, because I'm mostly just reading them the same way that any of our any of the listeners or any of our readers would. But they like marry data about how the Charlottesville neighborhoods are changing with history
Mhm.
of like, so this is how our city has changed both literally when you look at it from an aerial view of a map and demographically and culture. So
Right.
it's fascinating.
It is.
Like, so I would encourage everyone to go and read that. I certainly am. Our Tamika, our education and families reporter, is working on a lot of things about schools. Like lately, she's been focusing a lot of her attention on the like really dire is a little intense, but dramatic issues of school bus driver shortages and how they are impacting localities differently.
Oh yeah,
So,
I would say that's dire.
it's pretty intense.
Yeah,
like,
it
I
is.
mean, in Charlottesville, it's so short that kids are just not getting buses.
Yeah, I mean, like the safety piece of it, of more kids
gosh.
walking, riding
Right.
bikes. I hear all that.
Yeah.
Kids having to, like talking about elementary, middle school kids that have to ride the city transit.
Oh my
Think about the safety with that.
Oh my gosh. Oh yes. Well, and the thing is, like, in Charlottesville, it's Charlottesville Area Transit, the same company that does the CAT also does the school buses. So so there's a lot of questions there. There's a lot of questions about why is this happening. In other places, the story that's coming out next week in Albemarle, for example, they are giving everybody rides. Like they have more bus drivers. They've somehow managed to hire just a lot more bus drivers than Charlottesville. So that's interesting. And they, because they're such a large locality, they're like, okay, we're going to give everybody a ride. But the problem with that is they're still short. So the amount of time that kids are waiting for buses is astronomical. We're talking hours in some cases. We've got kids arriving to school up to an hour and a half late and then waiting for their bus up to an hour and a half after school. And then, I actually went out and talked to several parents to find out what does this actually look like. And, kids are missing the bus because the window of time for the bus to arrive is so wide, they never know they missed it. So you have like kids hanging out waiting for their bus for an hour and not sure if it's already come.
Yeah.
That's awful.
And props to everybody in the community that's been volunteering as well, because I know there's been folks out here that's been volunteering to give rides or to help walk and all that kind of stuff. And also the group COOP, we had them on Charlottesville United for Public Education. Like they've already had a seminar to talk about the reconstructions and the transportation issues. So like I said, that's what it takes, right? It really takes the village.
Oh my gosh, yes, especially right now.
Especially right now. Yep. So was there anything else? And
oh my god, I'm probably missing like 100 really cool stories. But I mean, we've always got great stories. You should just be checking our site and signing up for our newsletter.
Absolutely.
I'm not biased at all.
Right, not at all. Not in the least. CVilleTomorrow.org. And Jesse, thanks as always. Tell the staff we said hello.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Keep up the good work.
Have me on again. I love this.
Oh yeah. Welcome anytime.
That's right.
All right, IMHO family. Sir Charles, Miss Max will be right back. You know how to reach us. Approaching the end of the show, but y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back at it. Tell a friend.
Make room. Let them work. Make room. Make room. Let them work. Make room. Let them work. Make room. Let them work. Somebody shout a light on them. Shout a light on them. Shout a light on them. Shout a light on them.
There's a bunch of listeners tonight coming from the FX Steakhouse. Got home in Charlottesville for down on the craft, including their signature steaks, grilled chicken, fresh seafood, as well as their blooming onion, plus all of their appetizers, sides, and desserts. The Outback is now hiring for all positions. Applications accepted online at outback.com/careers or in person. The Outback Steakhouse in Charlottesville can be found on 29 North and 7 Courts and always at outback.com.
Hold on, wait.
Try seafood, in my humble opinion. Only on 101.3.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max. We did it again. We did it again, Miss Max.
Yeah, we did it again. It was a good show. It was a good show. Very informative, like usual. Keeping it close to the community, letting them know, just the ins and outs. Can't really. There's no excuse at this point. Everybody in Charlottesville is working really hard to make sure that information is shared and that there are opportunities to get engaged and involved and different things like that. So no excuses, right?
None at all, unless we make them up. We're pretty good at that. But yeah, yeah. Hopefully everybody's come to be used to to our styles by now, and hopefully still appreciate it. And thanks for the loyal listeners and viewers. Can't do it without y'all. Shout out to Ron and Razor as well. And so today we started with the Jefferson School. Then we have Virginia Film Festival. Then we had Charlottesville tomorrow. Voters Guide. So man, what was the highlight for you, Miss Max? Because it's because those to me are like three totally different corners and sectors of our community, but all have its own importance. And hopefully we're transmitting over the airwaves in a way that the folks can appreciate and want to listen to and be inclined to to further pursue.
Right. I couldn't agree more. And I really enjoyed talking to all of our guests today. But I especially enjoyed our discussion with Leslie at the top of the show. And again, it had a lot to do with the passion that Leslie had for the work that she does. That was evident. And too often we as Black people don't see the value in ourselves or our culture. And we act as such. And just to be able to hear the love that she has, and again, the reverence that she has for the Black community, it makes me happy, quite honestly. And it makes me happy to know that something like that exists right here in Charlottesville. It's good to hear that there again are several people working in their respective corners of the city to accomplish the overall goal, which is to love our people and create opportunity for our people and to let our people know that we care about them. And so again, that really genuinely made me happy to have that discussion with her. And I hope our listeners were really paying attention. And not just paying attention because, we talk about how knowledge is power, but of course it's the execution of that knowledge that is really, truly the power. And so I hope people just didn't listen and nod their heads and say, oh, that's nice. But I hope that they really heard something that they can actually put into work and take advantage of and, get their kids involved in. I mean, it's okay if they sit there with the face tight while they listen to a lecture or touring something or, partaking of something, because I think all too often, and I deal with the same thing with my own, is that while it looks like they may not be absorbing,
they are
paying attention, and, the mind's a million miles away, they are. They are. And, you can get it wrong 101 times, but all you need to do is get it right that one time.
That's right.
In order to, change something. And so, it was great talking to her.
Yes, absolutely right. Yeah, those arts so important ways for us to get, to just captivate the mind.
Yeah.
Of our young people. Because not only is it a way to physically get them, captive, like in a positive environment, but
Mhm.
it also is taking something that's of interest. Because like she mentioned all
Mhm.
kinds of fun stuff, that they can
Yeah.
learn about music and theater and like and as well as history too, like the local history right here in our own neighborhood, in our own community. We don't, a lot of times we don't even know the richness
Mhm.
of it. So
Mhm.
yeah, and then maybe one day you be in the Virginia Film Festival.
Hey, I'm trying to tell you now.
And
I
then
believe I received. No, I'm
that's
just
right. And then the way we close the show, Max, is like sort of at the base of it all is like voting, right? Is like being
Mhm.
involved in the process to be able to keep the support for such things.
Mhm. That's right.
It
Yeah.
makes a difference. Yeah.
It's important to stay informed. It again back to that conversation with Leslie. Too often, and she spoke about kids having to choose between sports and the arts or whatever else
Mhm.
that they may want to be a part of, and unfortunately, our kids grow up and they develop their own way of thinking, which is natural.
Mhm.
They're also influenced by their peers, and then certain things don't become cool to them. Um,
Right. Right.
and they deal with the pressure of how their peers may view them.
Mhm.
And I've had to tell my kids more than one time, it's okay to be great.
Oh
It's
yeah.
okay to be
Ne-
it's okay to
Never
be smart.
apologize
It's
for being
okay
great.
to yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
no, it's again, and I spoke about this when we were talking during the Ask Max, but just having the ability and the strength, because it does require that, to think individually, to think independently,
Mhm.
and not make someone else's thoughts or feelings your own. And so,
Yeah. Yeah. And can you imagine? Y'all close your eyes and go on the journey with us.
mhm.
No, but could you imagine if we did not have the Jefferson School, and then even for a lot of us, if we did not have
Right.
Virginia Film Festival, then if
Mhm.
we did not have
Mhm.
I'm going to say the authentic journalism of Charlottesville tomorrow,
Right.
you know, um, wow, it's
Yeah.
like the diversity of it, I'll say as well, because like the diversity of your reporting makes a difference to make sure that it truly is giving you the fullness of stories.
Mhm.
Um, but again, we as a people,
Mhm.
it's like we come up with an excuse not to support something. Um, you know, think of every reason under the sun,
Mhm.
but then get upset when other folks take it over, or
Yeah.
get upset when it's no longer here anymore.
Right. Right. And
So hey,
I think we also deal with the element of their ice is colder. We can
mm,
visit another city and attend the same type of event or what have you.
yeah,
And it's just so wonderful. And you have this right here in your community. Um, and you should really be taking advantage of it. You really should.
yep. And shouts out, last thing I have, shouts out to all our local artists and everybody here that's doing your thing. Y'all see,
Hmm.
and like I try to say what's up to y'all pretty consistently, know most of you. But yeah, because that's one thing that I applauded Leslie about as well, is that like we have so much talent here, and
Hmm.
she also amplified, and yeah, like they're given a stage there, they're
Hmm.
like people who really understand hip hop culture, actually
Hmm.
has like seminars and classes about
Hmm.
being schooled. So it's not just enough to just like it or love it or act like it, but it's like there's ways to make legitimate money, like through celebrating your culture,
Hmm.
and yeah, and so what Jefferson's able to do, with the talent of so many of our own right here is just amazing, and we need to support it. That's all.
Right. And Charles, while we're still on, I also want to take the time to pay respect to one-on-one James's very own Miss Jaquetta Key.
Hmm.
I know that
Hmm.
last name is hyphenated. I'm trying to find it real quick.
Yeah, Murray Keys
Yeah,
and G,
just
if she's not. Yeah.
I see it. I see it. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, she was served on the board of IMHO. I'm sorry, not IMHO. Of
WVAI. Yep.
101. Yeah, yeah. She
Yep.
served on the board there, um, and was. I can't say enough good things about her. I really,
Mhm.
truly can't. I met her very early on in IMHO's, time on the station, and she was always very supportive and very encouraging, and
Mm-hmm.
just open right up to me and talk to me
Yep.
about a little bit of her background, where she's from, and things like that. And she was just, just a genuinely good person, a trusted person, and I didn't do anything to deserve that. She was that way
Right.
right out the gate, and it let me know that's the person she was. That was truly her heart. And Miss Key, or G, passed away
Mm-hmm.
recently, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners already know. And so I just want to, over the
Mm-hmm.
air, give my respect to her and to her family. And
Likewise,
let them know
likewise.
that she'll be missed.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to end the show. Yeah, she was
Hmm.
definitely instrumental in teaching us the ropes of radio, and a founding, like you said, founding board member.
Hmm.
To bring hip hop and R&B back to the Charlottesville airwaves,
Hmm.
and just respected throughout the community. She wore so many
Right.
hats. In the
Right.
county school board, she helped with with the criminal justice system.
Hmm.
Yeah, so G definitely will be greatly missed. Absolutely.
Hmm. Hmm. Very true. And
So
so,
on that note, take us home.
yeah, yeah. Again, thanks to all of our listeners. We're truly only as successful as the people that participate in this journey with us, and so we love what we do. We're glad that for this platform, um, we value our listeners. We hope you gained something out of today's show, and we also want to tell you to take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And I don't mean that
Mm,
lightly. I don't mean
not at
that.
all.
Not a cliche at all. Like,
Mhm,
unfortunately, it's a lot of bad going on, and so it's important. It's important that we care about each other, and that we
mhm.
take care of one another. So I just want to leave that with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And stay tuned for yet another founding board member, a staple, Clee
Uh-huh.
Logan of the
That's
Soul
right.
Lounge. After
That's it.
this, but yeah, but definitely rest in heaven to Jaquetta Murray Keys.
Should've let you go.